along with the shot making, or lack thereof. And so those long shots, long rebounds led to runouts for our transition defense, which we talked about was similar to the Cleveland game. I thought we got some great looks. I mean, we were 18 for 40 in the paint. It's hard to overcome. And a lot of those missed shots lead to runouts because you have the guys at the rim. And we just got to make sure you finish. Go in there aggressively, go in to finish the play.
The Magic continue their road trip tonight in Oklahoma City, taking on the Thunder at 9:15. It's 80 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our three sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Well, ladies, it's so good to be back in the fold, but can I tell you that the game Saturday night in Jacksonville and the game yesterday in Philadelphia, both of them pretty much ended the exact same way, and I'm going to try not to lose my voice, but I am suffering from football heartbreak today.
You also have.
We are glad you're back.
I was going to say you have some undisclosed illness as well. So I
can disclose it. Some sort of virus. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask what made you sicker. That might be even a good poll question for today's program on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Of
definitely Saturday night.
Which game made you sicker? The Gators' heartbreaking loss or the Jaguars' heartbreaking loss? RJ, if you don't want to fire that up, maybe one of the two of us will make sure we fire that up on X because
Well, the Jaguars will win the poll because not everybody who follows us is a Gators fan. But it's
not everyone that follows us is a Jaguars fan either, I would argue. There's some folks who are Gators fans and not Jaguars fans.
Maybe, but I would say the majority are probably more Jags fans. But either way, for me personally, it was Saturday night because that would have been a miraculous victory. Yeah. And in the end, both teams decide to throw interceptions late in the game, and this is where we are. The Jaguars, of course, fall to 2-7, losing to the Eagles 28-23. Let's start with the beginning of the game when Austin Trammell's in there and not Parker Washington, despite the fact that Parker hasn't taken a snap yet on offense. And look, I think Austin Trammell potentially could be a decent returner again eventually, but I think he needed to get some snaps in the game before he's put back there for something like that. And, of course, he muffs the punt, and the Eagles get a fairly easy touchdown.
The irony is not lost on me that once upon a time, and by once upon a time, I mean last season, Parker Washington's first game action came on a punt return that while he didn't muff it, I don't think, he did suffer a significant enough injury that he was placed on the reserve injured list. And so, maybe putting in a returner cold, not exactly the best plan of attack moving forward if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. I wasn't surprised to see him out there because you do have to try to preserve the health of Parker Washington at all costs because by default, he becomes your number 2 option besides a half-healthy Brian Thomas Jr. yesterday?
But just tell him to fair catch it every time. Parker, that is. Just say, fair catch it, that's all you got to do. Yep. And then you move forward and you don't have that. And look, Taylor, at the end of the day, the Jaguars were close to coming back, but they, of course, dug themselves way too deep of a hole to really even feel like they had a chance. They got very lucky because the refs decided that it was a stumble for Saquon Barkley.
Yes. And I think, you don't score a single point in the first half of a football game. It's really hard to win after that. And I was talking to one of the guys that work here, Max. You hear him on the updates, and he's an Eagles fan. And before, he was very confident last week, I'm not concerned at all about this game. And then today I was like, were you a little nervous? He was like, yeah, I was a little nervous at the end.
Yeah, take that, John Kincaid, by the way, that the Eagles were going to destroy the Jags.
Oh, no.
Although that's what I thought was going to happen, too.
Yeah, I think most people did. I do also think, and I almost feel like Nick Sirianni was just didn't take the Jags seriously at all. I truly, and I know he's an aggressive play caller in general and does some kind of stuff that not all the Eagles fans and media like.
Yeah, but because he's dumb.
Yeah, but I also do think there were moments in this game where he was like, no way the Jags even have a chance in this, so I'm going to do whatever I want. And it really felt like that throughout the game. The amount of points, they left at least
8.
I want to say 10 because it was the 2 field goals, obviously, and then they went for it on 4th downs twice that could have turned into more points. So I think a minimum of 10 they left on the field with different play calling situations. And to me, that's how confident he was that no matter what, the Eagles could win this game. They could toy with the Jags and still be able to come out with the victory, and they did.
Look, I wanted to be so proud today and talking about a victory Monday in this miraculous Jaguars comeback, and the fact that the defense I thought played pretty well. Like, this was a team that went up against the Eagles tush push and stopped it twice to the point where Sirianni decided, well, we can't do that anymore.
Lauren.
Yes.
I felt the same way after the game, and then I looked at the box score.
Yeah, the amount of rushing yards that they gave up was significant.
No, not just the amount of rushing yards. Yes, the Eagles rushed for 237 yards. 237 yards. They threw for 230 as well. That, for me, nearing the 500-yard mark, is inexcusable at this Week 9 juncture. And I understand it's situational. I understand it's bend, don't break. But why did you bring Ryan Nielsen in? Because you were sick of the bend, don't break of a year ago, and you are not seeing improvement. Sure, situationally, maybe it looked a little bit more efficient than last week, but ultimately, it comes down to the same tired story at game's end on defense as well.
Look, I agree with you that statistically the Jaguars defense maybe didn't play well. But I think in watching how good these Eagles weapons can be, in moments last night, I thought, okay, they have at least done enough to where they've given the offense a chance to win the game with about 1:40 left to play. And that's not something I expected. So it all depends on, too, your expectations going into the game. I did not expect the Jaguars to really show any fight because of all those injuries like we've talked about, because they traded away Roy Robertson Harris a couple weeks ago, because they traded away Cam Robinson this week, who, oh, by the way, got a game ball from Minnesota. You know who else got a game ball from Minnesota? Former Jaguars tight end Josh Oliver. Yeah. So come
My
here
mom
for a little
texted
bit.
me midway through the game, and she was like, did Josh Oliver play for the Jags too? And was Cam traded this week? And I was like, yes, and yes. But also, look, I mean, you can go back through history, and recent history as well. Roy Robertson Harris was traded to Seattle. The Seahawks somehow upend the Falcons in Atlanta. They have not won a game since. Poor James Robinson goes up to New York, proudly proclaims how it was really nice to get on the plane being a part of a 2-win team and then arrive in New York to a 6-win team, and ultimately that team cratered down the stretch. So, look, I don't even want to play the Cam Robinson game right now. Mm-hmm. For me, it is about the problems in this ecosystem on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, which, coupled with the news of the day that the New Orleans Saints have fired Dennis Allen, yes, to those of you on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, clamoring to talk about firings, clamoring to talk about change. Losing to the Panthers, apparently that's the elixir. If you want change, that's the one spark that I can guarantee for you. If you lose to the Panthers, you are guaranteed to change your coach.
Saints players tweeted out after the game, apologies to the fans because they lost to the Panthers. If you're a Panthers player, if you're Bryce Young and you see that, you're like,
dang.
Golly gee. I mean, I thought hit rock bottom when I was benched, but I guess not. Either way, look, we've said this many times on this show. We're not going to talk about who should be fired in this moment because the season can still play out. Going back to the Florida game Saturday night, if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt, if Florida somehow, someway wins that game, the talk of Billy Napier on the hot seat that was the favorite conversation for lots of people for so long disappears. And it's now, can Florida beat Texas? Holy cow. And everything changes. But I do understand why Jaguars fans want everyone fired. Yeah. I understand. They don't want just the head coach fired. They don't want just the offensive coordinator fired, Taylor. They want everyone fired, including the general manager.
Yeah, and one of the things when we were talking to John Kincaid last week about the Eagles, and he went on and saying how Press Taylor was the reason that Doug, and almost not even got fired there, but he chose because he didn't want to let Press go. And so that ended up ultimately getting his job lost also. And it's almost, my words were, sounds familiar, because I do feel like we're in the same spot. And this goes back for seasons now, a couple years. We had the moment of Press Taylor was Press Taylor may get a head coaching job. That was a joke. But I think that beyond that, it's just been a lot of really bad moments, and then you see the way the game ended and that play call and that situation when you have the chance to. Granted, you would probably giving Philly way too much time to score there anyways. I think if the Jags even scored a touchdown, Philly probably still would have came back and won that game.
Depending on how long they took to score said touchdown.
Well, that pass, I'm saying. That ended up,
I gotcha. Yeah.
If D'Arness got that ball and it was a touchdown, you're still giving them a minute and a half at that time to go down and get a field goal. But I think that in those moments, that's when you're looking at it. And so John was kind of talking about how it was a lot of Press, and Press is the one that everybody didn't like, but Doug didn't want to fire Press and let Press go and stay, so they both went. And so now you're kind of in this similar situation, and so it's everyone loves Doug here. He's talking about Philly fans, and I was like, it's an interesting thing to look at, because to me, there's too many times to where if Doug, being a head coach goes beyond just obviously the in football game situations. And there were clearly issues last year, halfway through the season, on the defensive side of the ball, that we're talking about coaches physically not coaching up players. And it took you until the final month of the season to do anything or make any comment and make any adjustments to that. Then now here we are again with an offense that it has. Now everyone's kind of banged up, but being banged up, you had way too many weapons and way too many people on that offense to be looking the way that they had looked. And it's taking you too long to start making changes. And to me, that falls on the head coach, because you are the overseer of this entire offense, especially an offensive guy. So you should be able to help as much as you can on that side of the ball. And I just don't think he's done enough. And I think that's why a lot of fans are frustrated too, because you are this guy who has this history of being able to develop and make quarterbacks better. We saw it with the season that obviously Carson Wentz had, and then he gets injured, and then you were able to do it with Nick Foles. But then why just things fall apart after that? Because I don't know how to word this in the nicest way, but you don't have the guts to make the moves with the lower coaches, and that changes things. And sometimes that's what you need. And so that's on Doug.
Yeah, I wonder too, did Doug Peterson not take back the play calling? Because they share the same exact mind when it comes to play calling, Doug and Press. And so if Doug takes it back, it's not necessarily going to look any different. And to Taylor's point about the play call, how on earth is that Trevor's first read? Dearness Johnson, the third string running back. Even if you got the matchup you wanted, that still should not be Trevor's first read.
Let's go to the big picture of that play, Lauren. They ran 4 verts. On what? It was 1st and 10 from the 15-yard line, something like that. They ran 4 verts in the red zone against the Cleveland Browns in the waning minutes of that ball game. And what happened? Trevor turned the ball over.
Yeah.
This is now the second time.
Yeah, you're on the 13th.
I audibly said, with 1:40 to go, wow, you could run the ball here a couple times. I don't know.
That's what I was saying.
Tank Bigsby only has 8 carries. He's a human first down for much of the season. He's been averaging over 5 yards a pop. I don't know.
Tank's average after yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
2.8 per carry.
Yes.
Run game was not working
Well,
yesterday.
especially when you have 8 carries and they're not even real carries for 22 yards, because you just gave up on the run again. And what did we all identify last week as something that would have to be critical, not only for the success of creating a multidimensional offense, but also for time of possession? You had to run the ball. Got away from that quick. I understand that certainly the muff punt that led to a score changes things. 3 and outs, once again, that changes things too. But yes, the entire play, Lauren, philosophically,
It's a disaster.
the fact that, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, now this is the second time that this has happened. And that's where you can blame the player. Sure, you can say that Trevor, threw a little too inside, like he said post-game yesterday. You can say that Dearness Johnson has only had 1 catch since 2019, or at least a designed catch, and he's the smallest player on the field. Why would you do that? Especially as Doug Peterson told reporters post-game that they had worked on this play, and this was part of their red zone package. Ultimately, to your point, yes, Taylor. As 910 on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures, points out, it's pretty obvious that Doug thinks Press is doing exactly what Doug wants him to do. Don't blame Press, blame Doug's scheme and vision, which is what Doug has asked us to do. So that's what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when Doug Peterson called out Trevor Lawrence and said that in the offseason and said that Trevor isn't great with situational awareness, well, Doug, you're not either.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Nick Sirianni, by the way, also the same category. But I just don't feel like you can call out players, and especially your quarterback, when you also have made some terrible decisions. And if it's your offensive coordinator that's also making the terrible decisions, then yeah, you should have fired him to this point in time. But Doug Peterson does meet with media at 1:45, so more questions will be fired his way. One last thing before we head to break, Cooper Hodges and the leg injury. Just devastating, obviously. 2nd year in a row, same leg, his right leg. We did get the update from, I believe, his mom, who put out that since Cooper doesn't have Facebook, that he is going to be okay, at least. He will have surgery. And it's one of those things you just absolutely hate to see it.
Yeah, and it's just god awful. But he did, from what I've been told, he did receive some treatment at a local hospital up in Philadelphia. But the hope was that they were going to be able to get him onto the Jags plane. I don't have that confirmed if they actually did or not, but he did go to a local hospital up in Philadelphia. But yeah, if you haven't seen the picture from his mom that she posted on Facebook, it's circulating around Twitter. I retweeted it. He's smiling. He's on the stretcher, but he's Coop, so he's smiling. And it's just a gut punch because, yes, if we are going to talk about Cam Robinson on this Big Chief Tire Monday, what I will talk about is we're right back to where we were this time a year ago, where your offensive line depth is in question. And while Cooper Hodges isn't an option perhaps at the tackle position unless you need him in an emergency, because he did play the position in college, I think you now, with Brandon Scherf banged up but gutted it out yesterday, not knowing the extent of Ezra Cleveland's ankle injury.
Yeah, hopefully he's back this week.
You are probably going to have to roll with Blake Hance at some point or another, which he can play all 5 spots. And you may have to even, much like the wide receiver position, look even deeper into the practice squad.
This is exactly what everybody was saying in March. You made one move and you lose one person and you're exactly back, if not worse, than what you were last year.
Yeah, the trading away of Cam Robinson for what they got certainly now I think looks even more suspicious than when the news first broke. All right, we will continue the Jaguars conversation. There was certainly a positive from yesterday's game. We'll get to that on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Good drives bring more points. Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville brings you the drive of the game.
Great job.
On 1010XL. Drive to the game in luxury with Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Folks, we have tropical storm activity in the Gulf once again. If your roof took on any damage at all during Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton, or heaven forbid this upcoming storm, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. Again, we hope that the storm doesn't even make its way to Jacksonville and everyone stayed safe during those 2 hurricanes. But if you need any help with your roof at all, call Projax Roofing at 904-338-1722 or visit them online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Helmets and Heels.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
Imagine beautiful new windows and doors that elevate your space and keep you comfortable year-round. At Renewal by Andersen, we specialize in custom-built, energy-efficient windows and doors that are crafted to last. Right now, for a limited time, save 20% off your entire project. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com to schedule your free in-home consultation today. Restrictions apply. License number CGC 1527613.
In its final year, we encourage you to help create great futures for young people when you run or walk at Mackenzie's Run, Saturday, November 23rd. Join Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida for a 5K and 1-mile fun run through the beautiful stadium course at TPC Sawgrass. Enjoy food, live music, face painting, family fun, and more at our Runners Village. Register at mackenziesrun.org. Mackenzie's 5K and Fun Run, November 23rd. mackenziesrun.org.
The Money Pages brings you this week's Red Zone featured player of the week. Number 5, Jaguars safety, Andre Cisco. Andre Jordan Cisco Jr. played college ball for Syracuse and was drafted by the Jags in the 3rd round in 2021. Make sure to pick up this week's Jag Game program with a commemorative ticket of Andre Cisco inside. Download the Money Pages app for weekly specials. Money Pages, official sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars.
Start your Sunday off with a cup of Joe and some sports medicine intel. This is Joe C. inviting you to join me and Dr. George Bari for Breaking Bones every Sunday morning at 7:30. And if you miss an episode, just look for Breaking Bones wherever you listen to podcasts.
If you have a slow-draining sink or toilet that sounds like it's about to back up, imagine the potential plumbing emergency when you have family over for the holidays. Flush after flush after flush. Avoid holiday clogs with a call to DuckDuckRooter today. DuckDuckRooter will come and resolve those plumbing issues so you can enjoy a free-flowing holiday season. Call 904-862-6769. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com.
Joint replacement surgery is always a tough decision, but relief from chronic pain may be just around the corner. Dr. George Barry here, and there's a lot to consider to make sure you get the proper diagnosis and best path back to the range of motion and mobility you had. Age, lifestyle, and overall health all play a part. Let the team at Barry Orthopedics give you a full analysis to help you make the best decision. Log on to BarryOrthopedics.com or call the office to make an appointment. With offices across Jacksonville and ready to help you feel good again, we'll get you back on the road to recovery at Barry Orthopedics.
For birthdays, anniversaries, or any situation that requires something really special, visit the Kuhn Flowers showroom on Beach Boulevard and select something that you can't find anywhere else. 1010XL's Andrew Gibson here, and that's the direction I head, Kuhn Flowers.
Now the Performance Painting High Performance Play of the Game. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
The Teal and Black were looking to grab the momentum right out of the city of brotherly love on Sunday, and it would be the defense that would take the Hearts right out of the stadium. Trayvon Walker would recover a fumble and take it 35 yards to the house for a touchdown, making the score 22-16 with 5:12 left in the third. The Trayvon Walker scoop and score is your Performance Painting Play of the Game.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Hey, Icken here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX, J-A-X, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, man. Run your game.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dollar, Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Big Chief Tire Monday. Thanks again for holding down the fort last week, ladies. I was here on Monday, and I thought, I'll be fine. I'll be good as gold by Tuesday. And then I was not. And then it got worse, but I am back today and so happy to be back.
All right, you're feeling better.
Thank you so much. There was one positive, like I said, at least one positive from yesterday's game, and that was big number 44. And here he is on his scoop and score.
It was a major play and a critical moment in the game. My first instinct was anytime we see the ball on the ground, that's an opportunity for us, regardless of if it's we know it's a fumble or not. Like, get on the ball, recover, and just finish through the end zone. That's all that was going through my mind.
Trayvon Walker, of course, had that scoop and score. A lot of people thought it was going to be ruled that it was down, that Saquon Barkley was down because Ventrell Miller touched him, but the officials decided not to do that. They just said it was a scramble and that he touched his own player. Fine by us, obviously, yesterday in thinking that the Jaguars might have a chance to come back and beat the Eagles. Mia, serious question. Should Trayvon Walker line up at fullback at some point in time this season?
Is that part of Doug's vision?
I don't think it is. I'm thinking outside the box because that guy was bouncing off of guys and was able to get some speed. And this team is terrible at short yardage situations, so maybe Trayvon Walker is the answer.
Our friend Daniel Griffiths actually pulled up all the 40 times from yesterday. So I think it's worth repeating. Because, yes, certainly when Trayvon Walker gets moving, he's a runaway freight train. These are not their 40 times in the game yesterday, by the way, folks. These are their 40 times at the NFL Combine. Yeah. But you could argue that Trayvon Walker was closing in on that 4.51 speed as he was barreling towards the end zone. Travis Etienne ran a 4.45. Tank Bigsby ran a 4.56 at the Combine once upon a time. Dearness Johnson a 4.81. Look, your 40-yard speed doesn't actually translate to your actual game speed. But, yes, that play, and John Shipley of Sports Illustrated tweeted it, that play encompassed everything that when you saw Trayvon Walker at the NFL Combine, when the Jaguars made him the first overall pick, everything that you thought he could be was encapsulated in that one play. And I do want to make a note. There was an independent a pool reporter for an independent conversation with the instant replay crew to further clarify if Ventrell Miller had touched Saquon Barkley, exactly why the ruling went into effect. According to Mark Butterworth, the president of Instant Replay, on that play, the running back was touched by a defensive player, Ventrell Miller, and then he did have contact with number 69, nice, on the offense. It was deemed a stumble on the field, so because it was a stumble when he went down, he would not be down by contact, and therefore it was a fumble. Zach Berman, the independent reporter, then asked, what would have qualified as down by contact when Ventrell touched him? Butterworth said, if no other player hit him and they ruled it not a stumble, and he went down after contact by Ventrell Miller of the defense with no other contact, and he went immediately down, then it would have been down by contact. So stumble is apparently, is it a catch? Is it a fumble? Now we have, is it contact or a stumble?
On the broadcast,
they
said,
make things up.
I know. They said, we're going to probably see this used as teaching tape. Like, they thought that they got it wrong. And look, that's what we should be celebrating today in the city of Jacksonville, that Trayvon Walker was a bulldozer and he did find the end zone. I have watched that play so many times, and Devon Hamilton is trying to go out in front and block Trayvon.
And Trayvon's like, move.
But he can't keep up with him, obviously. And I think it was Jarian Jones that was able to get out in front. But it's one of those things that because the Jaguars had a terrible play call to end the game, a terrible decision, and as far as just throw to the third string running back like we talked about, now we're not talking about that. And if the Jaguars had scored on that play to Dearness Johnson, Taylor, you bring up a good point. Would the Eagles, with as much time as they would have had on the clock, would they have just driven down and scored, given the ball to Saquon Barkley, who looked to me like a little banged up as the game was going on, but either way.
Well, that's what happens when you have like 200 rushing yards on the team.
Yeah, when you're all the entire offense
and you're
at
backwards
times.
hurtling over players.
Yeah,
probably.
One negative I will say, Ronald Darby has been so exposed this season.
Oh, yeah.
He cannot cover the elite receivers like an A.J. Brown, like a Devonta Smith. It's just it just looks like this defense doesn't have the pieces. And I don't know if it's Ryan Nielsen's scheme. I don't know if it's just in general. We were kind of sold a bag of goods.
Yeah, I was highly concerned about the Darby thing when it happened, and it's kind of played how I expected it. I just never saw anything from him that made it flash. There was a reason he wasn't starting in other places unless there was injuries or in his last place. But I do think that if you could focus on the positives of this year, since we are talking about this Trayvon Walker play being positive, Trayvon Walker as a whole has been one of the things that you have to look at out of this season, because I feel like every game he's making something impactful happen, and in different ways. You're seeing a scoop and score right now. You're seeing big sacks and big moments in other games. You're seeing him be really good when it comes to run stopping and other situations during games that have come up big. And so I just think that it's exactly what you want to see, at least in a player like that. And I know a lot of people have even been critical of Josh Hines-Allen because maybe on paper you haven't seen the exact numbers, but there were several plays even yesterday that Josh Hines-Allen was just in the exact right spot at the right time, and that's part of what makes him who he is too. And even when you're not having those 17 sack seasons, there's so many other things that Josh Hines-Allen is good at. And so I do think that there are some highlights that you can take out of this season. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr. is one of them. So, hey, get him the ball more, especially when you're down one of your other best receivers. But sometimes you do have to look at those things, because you do have building blocks in certain areas of this offense and this defense to move forward. And I know now we're to this point when you are 2-7, you are kind of now, okay, like there's not really any saving this unless an absolute miracle happens and other teams completely fall apart. So you are looking now at like what pieces are worth keeping. You have contracts you have to figure out after this season. You have coaching things that are going to happen. So what building blocks do you have? And there definitely are building blocks on this team.
It's more than building blocks. At this juncture, it's about carrot dangling. Again, in case you missed it, the New Orleans Saints, who historically speaking, Gail Benson a little bit slow to make a move to change up the head coaching position in New Orleans throughout the Benson family's, 50-plus years of owning the New Orleans Saints. They've had the same GM and Mickey Loomis for seemingly my entire lifetime. I'm 32 years old. And so the fact that they made a move, and you look at the Las Vegas.
They started the season out so good.
They did. They started off the season 2-0, and here we are. They've lost 7 straight games or 6 straight games, whatever it is. The Las Vegas Raiders also making a move to fire former Chicago Bears OC, now with the Raiders, but now no longer with the Raiders. Offense coordinator Luke Getsy. They also fired the offensive line coach. They fired multiple people. I bring this up to say and I just saw it from a couple of the PFF guys, so I know this isn't just me who's thinking it. And I don't want to be saying that I'm calling for another man's job. But what I will tell you is that for those of you who believe that Trevor is trash and no one's going to want to come here and who wants to come to Jacksonville, know this. There are now 2 defined openings for head coach in the National Football League. First and foremost, it's 1 of 32. Ultimately, guys are going to take the job because it's 1 of 32. But also, when you dangle that carrot, when you have Trayvon Walker, you have Josh Hines-Allen under contract, you have a Trevor Lawrence who has shown you in flashes what he can eventually become if he is placed into the right system. You have a brand new stadium that is on the precipice of being renovated and put onto the riverfront here in Jacksonville alongside so much development. You have an owner who's willing to spend. At this point in time, I'm not saying that you should just fold it all up, pack it up, and walk away, but it has to be viewed as those positives. They're the little carrot. Mm-hmm. And they are the reason that some of the most attractive candidates on the market, some of the most innovative up-and-coming minds, the hope would be that they would have interest in working here in Jacksonville.
That is a good point with the stadium, but on the other side of it, because whoever gets hired here is potentially looking at next year and then not having a home game for 2 years also. So where some people
just 1 year.
Well, limited capacity and then not here for a year. So I wonder if that does factor into some decisions. We will see how many people make this move of firing the coach when it happens, because obviously that's a big factor into it also. But it is. I mean, you have these pieces that somebody is looking at as being intriguing, and you do have some things you've got to figure out. You know, an ETN contract, what happens with ETN? You do have Trayvon when you're going to have to figure out a contract with him. There are other things that are going to be coming up that whoever comes next is going to have to figure out, but at least it's not like taking over what even Urban had to do with, yes, you get Trevor Lawrence, but there was a lot of question marks aside from that. And so now you do have someone where you're like, there is a lot of pieces on here that you could, if with the right coaching and the right developing, you could have a decent football team.
So we do have a poll question out on X. Which game made you sicker, the Jaguars' loss to the Eagles or the Gators' loss to Georgia on Saturday at Everbank Stadium? With 83 votes in, Lauren Brooks, you were right on the money. 90% of the voters have said the Jaguars lost to the Eagles. But maybe they said so because of this breaking news.
That just happened. Brought to you by Florida Home AC, the official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Billy Napier is currently meeting with reporters in Gainesville, and he says that quarterback DJ Lagway's injury was, quote, less significant than they initially believed. Lagway has not been ruled out this week against Texas.
Yeah, I was reading that information as y'all were discussing the next head coach here in Jacksonville and learn whether or not he's going to, or they would be as inspired to come here as other places. And I got so excited because that means that potentially we could see in Austin, Texas, DJ Lagway taking on the Longhorns. That, from what we saw with him going on a cart here in Jacksonville with a hamstring injury to potentially now he could play on Saturday. And I'm not predicting that he plays on Saturday. With most hamstrings, you're going to need a couple weeks. But the fact that he's not ruled out for the season, when I know every Gator fan watching that felt the absolute massive gut punch, thinking that you've already lost Graham Mertz for the season. You cannot have yet this happen again. And you were just convinced that he was gone because of the cart. Now it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't have him against Texas, but certainly you've got a lot of other football games coming up this season, 2 more after that you'd love to have DJ Lagway in and just see, because that's obviously Billy Napier's best chance to keep his head coaching position, which I'll say right here, right now, I'm fine if Billy Napier is the head coach next year, with one caveat. Please hire an offensive coordinator. If I'm Scott Strickland, I'm going to sit him down in his office and say, I think you've done a great job in so many aspects. Recruiting needs to improve still, but you have to have an offensive coordinator to make better decisions, because like we just talked about with the Jaguars, they had a terrible decision to let their third-string quarterback throw at the end of that game. All right, we will get it to some NFL news on the other side as well. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Yo, it's your boy E to the T here. And fellas, we all know that athletes train every day to perform better on the field, right? Well, what if you could enhance your performance in the bedroom? No training required. That's right. I'm talking about that secret weapon, Blue Chew. A chewable tablet with the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin that ships right to your door in a discreet package. No doctor visits, no trips to the pharmacy. It's all online. Their licensed medical providers work with you to find the right ingredients and strength for your prescription. They also have Daily Tad that contains 7 essential vitamins. And it's chewable too. And now you can try Blue Chew for the free ski. That's right, for free on me. Visit BlueChew.com and enter my promo code 1010XL. You only have to pay $5 for shipping. Turn that oh no into a oh yeah. That's promo code 1010XL. Let your boy hook you up with some Blue Chew. Get your confidence back. Visit BlueChew.com.
Mia here for my friends at MyBookie. Hope everyone had a profitable betting weekend. You know what tonight is? Monday Night Football. No Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road playing the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 8.5 points with the over-under game total around 45.5. Cade Otton, the tight end, was the de facto #1 receiving target for Baker Mayfield last week, and the Chiefs generally are kind of weak at defending tight ends. Right now, you can bet Cade Otton to score 1 or more touchdowns, paying plus 210 on MyBookie. That means if you bet 100 and he scores, you get paid $220. MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors, folks. Our listeners can sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. That's promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, only with MyBookie.
Hey gang, Prosser here, telling you once again about Chad and Sandy Newman. Mortgage rates are down, creating more active buyers and sellers. If you've been waiting, now is a great time to sell your home before more homes flood the market, driving down prices. So maybe you want guaranteed no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. They can handle that. You see, Chad and Sandy can take every problem you think you have and replace it with a promise. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. The success stories are rolling in. Mike and Lisa in McCormick. We inherited a family home that came with equity but also a mortgage. We needed to sell fast to avoid extra expenses on a second mortgage. We heard about Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. Everything they say on the radio is true. The home sold in 3 days for full asking price. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Injured in an accident? Have mounting medical bills? Can't work? Don't worry. Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan of Von Rowan Law. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve. Set up your free consultation at zachsgotyourback.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
This is Tony Baselli, Pro Football Hall of Famer. I was known for protecting our quarterback. These days, I'm extending that protection to a different arena, your home. I have partnered with Heritage Roofing of North Florida, your premier local roofers with over 25 years of experience. Heritage is your go-to roofer for hurricane preparation with same-day inspections and estimates. They also work with all insurance companies. Let Heritage Roofing of North Florida safeguard your home and family. Visit heritagenfl.com for your free estimate today.
State license CCC 133541.
Picking here for Bound 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bow 9. Visit Bow 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bow 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On November 4th, 2001, the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the New York Yankees to secure their first World Series title, winning 3-2 in Game 7.
Grab your lucky spot on the couch, because traditions make Sunday easy to enjoy. Bud Light, easy to Sunday, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus. Copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch. Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Jags fans, looking for the perfect activity around the holidays? We've got you covered with the inaugural Teal Trot 5K. The race takes place outside Everbank Stadium, Saturday, December 21st. We can't wait to see you there. Your registration includes the 5K, a throwback Jaguars headband, and a ticket to the December 29th game against the Titans. Visit jaguars.com/Teal Trot to sign up today.
This is Dr. Turner Vossler, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
After Jake Elliott's missed field goal late in the fourth quarter, the Jaguars had excellent field position to go down and find the end zone to complete a great late-effort comeback. Lawrence looked left to Dearness Johnson Jr. to find him in the corner of the end zone, but instead Eagles linebacker Nakobe Dean dropped back in coverage and took advantage of Lawrence's overthrow to give Dean the game-sealing interception. A tough scenario as the Jaguars almost pulled off a comeback. Here's Lawrence on what he saw that final play.
We tried to go over the top and just got to give credit to the linebacker. Did a great job. Nakobe did a great job making that play, and it's just tough when it finishes that way. You know, when I threw it, I thought we'd have a shot and left it a touch inside, and he got his eyes and thought we'd be able to go up and get it, and he did a great job, made a great play.
I'm Max Fink with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
Taylor Dalmio, Brian, RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks with you.
I think this came on my morning run. I don't know why I just had deja vu just now. I was like, I think this was on the Peloton playlist this morning.
The newest Morgan Wallen song. Love Somebody. I love the Spanish flair in this song during the instrumental part. It's really fun. It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. You can find them online at WeKeepJacksRollin.com. They've got 5 locations around town. If you need tires, an oil change, alignments, go visit my friends at Big Chief Tire. We've mentioned it. The Raiders fired multiple offensive coaches. The Saints fired head coach Dennis Allen. That comes a few weeks after the Jets fired their head coach and Robert Saleh. So if y'all were to make a prediction right here, right now on a Monday afternoon at 12:40 p.m., does Shad Khan make any changes this week, or does Doug Peterson make any changes this week when it comes to the coaches? Yes or no?
No.
No.
Unfortunately.
And everybody driving around town right now just hit their steering wheel and said, come on, man. Changes have to happen. You're seeing other teams do it. However, I will give you this stat. This is the 4th time in the last 5 years that the Raiders have fired coordinators mid-season. Where has that gotten the Raiders?
Nowhere, which is why Shad Khan is not going to operate in a vacuum. And I'm sure if you were to speak to him today, I would think, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I would think that that would be his assessment of the situation. He doesn't want to act reactively, urgently to the point of perhaps armchair quarterbacking the situation. Yeah. And he needs to understand all of the players and the big picture, have patience. I understand it. Because take the football part out of it, take the Jaguars part out of it. If you are a manager of any sort of business, you don't want to have reactionary, impulsive moves, because what does that do for you and your organization long term? Yes, maybe you alleviate the problem right now, but ultimately, if you don't have a plan, if you only have concepts of a plan, which is probably where the Raiders were with their offensive situation to begin the 2024 season with the quarterback situation as it was. I don't know any offensive coordinator who could have really saved the situation there. That's where I don't expect any moves because historically speaking, yes, Shad Khan is patient. He has proven that he wants to give his coaches the opportunity to sink or swim. Now, is that to say I don't believe there will be changes made by season's end? I think that is certainly, if the season continues down the trajectory that it currently is on, yes, I could see that happening, but I do not envision that happening anytime during the season unless they are to be blown out each of the next 2 weeks, and then it would be before the bye week.
Taylor, I tweeted out yesterday that Trevor Lawrence should appeal the interception because it obviously went right off of Travis Etienne's hands. And someone tweeted me back, Trevor Lawrence should appeal his coaching staff. And I do have to wonder, if you were to get Trevor Lawrence in a room sequestered away from his coaches, and if Shad just had a direct conversation with Trevor, what would Trevor's answer be as to whether or not he wants some changes to be made?
Yeah, and obviously I can't answer that because I don't know what's in Trevor's head, but you can see in moments frustration and in different areas, in play calling moments where he probably knows, but I think it's also there's obvious issues all over this roster, and it doesn't feel like one thing would fix things right away. And we've kind of talked about that since the beginning of the season. And we've had situations where it's worked. We talk about the Buffalo Bills situation of when they get rid of Ken Dorsey and Joe Brady takes over and things click, and it works that way. And then you can look at the Raiders, and they've made all of these coaching changes, but you also have to hire the right person. That's part of it. Like, you can fire a million people, right, and if you don't figure out the
That's
next
why I said
right
about
one,
a plan. You have to have a plan.
Luke Getsy, who's had one of the worst offenses for 2 straight seasons, like, you don't think that was a red flag, and that's who you wanted to come in to coach Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell? Like, I just don't see how that was the way to fix things. The one time he's been successful is when he's had Aaron Rodgers, who he didn't have to coach. He didn't have to develop. He didn't have to do anything. And so I do think as an organization, you have to be smart enough to fire in the right moments, but you also have to be smart enough to hire the right people. And I don't think this organization has the history of hiring the right people, obviously. And so that is a factor. And to your point earlier, Lauren, like, what happens? Like, if it's Doug, if they fire Doug this week, who's the interim? How much does that change? Because I do think that although there's a lot of issues and I haven't agreed with everything Doug's done, Doug does has experience, obviously, head coaching in the NFL. He has experience having to develop quarterbacks. He has experience with bad teams that he's had to kind of just get through the season and not completely lose them. And so I feel like they have to hold on to that a little bit. And then if you fire Press, to your point, Doug is running press. They're still running the same offense. They do the same thing. So I don't think that drastically is changing. I wonder if Ryan Nielsen is like regretting his decision to come here at this point, because when he's in Atlanta, his defense looks like one of the better defenses in the league, and then he gets here and now everyone's like, you screwed everything up at this point. And is it all Ryan Nielsen? I think some of it is the lack of talent in the secondary, some of the guys not playing up to the level that you thought they could, but also Ryan Nielsen has not been great. And so I wonder if part of him is like, man, I should have just stayed in Atlanta. They're having a good time right now. And so I don't know. I don't know what a coaching change in Jacksonville would do right now. I don't know how much it would drastically change anything, but I would be so shocked if at the end of the season there is an offensive coaching in some form changes made.
Because ultimately, and this is what I keep coming back to, and I've argued with so many of you on the text line, Designed by Lifetime Enclosures and MyBookie Digital Studio, other reporters on the Jaguars beat, we've gotten to that point where I've argued with them, and I just continue to say and believe, outside of the reimagined stadium and outside of his philanthropic donations, the biggest monetary investment that Shad Khan has made in the city of Jacksonville is in Trevor Lawrence. And if you allow for that investment to not reach its full potential, then that is on you.
And I cannot believe we were talking about this ahead of the show today, that people were actually clamoring for, when they showed on the broadcast Mac Jones warming up, people were actually excited and hopeful that Mac Jones was getting into that game. I guess I'll never understand anyone who watches every play of a Jaguars game and says, it's all Trevor's fault, put Mac Jones in. Like, I just will never understand those people. And I know they exist because I see their comments all over the place. But I just will never understand. Trevor Lawrence is not perfect. We know that. But I guarantee that if you had put Trevor Lawrence on that Eagles team yesterday and you gave Jalen Hurts to the Jaguars, the Eagles blow the doors off of the Jaguars, it was trending in that direction either way.
You will happy to know, Lauren, that comment regarding Mac Jones that I thought I saw on our 1010XL Jaguars channel. Oh, no,
Deleted?
it's still there. I thought it was deleted. It's not on the notifications anymore.
I mean, he meant
according to one of our listeners on the MyBookie Digital Studio from the fifth quarter last night, Mac Jones would have placed that back shoulder throw on the money. It's what he does 100 times. Mac has more IQ and better ball placement. Look, I mean, with all due respect to Mac Jones, again, and I just had this conversation with one of the Heeligans. This is, yes, was the ball placement not perfect? Yes. But the structure of the play and the system was not setting Trevor Lawrence up for success. And for those of you who are sick and tired of excuses for Trevor Lawrence, here's the problem. That same play was called against Cleveland, and he turned the ball over there too. He failed there. And as his coach, it's your job. Right, it's your job as his coach to identify, hey, you know what? Running 4 verts in the red zone is probably not the best way to attack, especially when we have a minute 40 on the clock and we have a running back who, outside of today's game, averages over 4 yards a pop. So that is where I'm not giving excuses for Trevor Lawrence. I'm just simply stating what the reality is, which is he is a problem, but he is not the problem by a country mile.
Yeah, I mean, I was just scrolling too. I think there's 12 teams that Trevor Lawrence would be starting on right now if you were to go, if
minimum, probably.
Minimum. Well, I would say 12 or 13, and that's including because Dak just got hurt. So if
I was a Cowboys fan, I'd take Trevor over Dak all day long.
But I mean, you're going through, and it's like the Saints, Panthers, the Vikings. I think he still would be starting over Sam Darnold. I think he could possibly be starting in Seattle. I think that he'd be starting in New York. I think that now with Dak being hurt, he would definitely be starting in Dallas.
Both New Yorks at this juncture.
Yeah, I think he'd be starting in New England. I think he'd be starting at the Raiders. I think he'd be starting at the Browns. He possibly even the Steelers. I think he'd be starting at the Colts and starting at the Titans. That's 13 teams.
And that's like the
Lawrence
minimum.
Because
I would even throw, I agree. I would throw like the Cardinals in there. I mean, you could you could argue a couple of others, as I just noted to somebody on the text line as well, because ultimately, what are Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield? They are also former number 1 picks. They are former number 1 picks that were sent to the scrap heap because they were just deemed as they're not generational. They are not top 10 quarterbacks. And by nearly every statistical measurement, pre-Chris Godwin, Mike Evans injury, what are both of those quarterbacks in 2024? They're top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
In terms of God-given ability.
I mean, the Lions may be the best team in the NFL right now.
But is Jared Goff the best quarterback in the NFL?
I mean, he's playing
right
like
now.
it. Yeah.
Right. But is he, in terms of raw, natural talent, is he the best quarterback in the NFL? And so what does that speak to? That speaks to the ecosystem around him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that
Lions Jaguars, by the way, Sunday, November 17th. Get your popcorn.
Woo. I do think, it speaks to the coaching. It speaks to developing these players, right? It speaks to building offenses around the strengths of the quarterback. Jared Goff was really good in LA, so let's not pretend like he was a crap quarterback and got sent off. They just felt like a veteran Matthew Stafford fit better in their offense and would work for their time frame they felt like could win. But he was good. I mean, he wasn't some schmuck that they just pushed to the side. He just then took a good quarterback and put him in the place that fit everything that he could do perfectly. And then, what did they do? They built an offensive line in front of him that gave him enough time to develop and work through his progressions and do all of the things he needs to do.
There's also an attitude from both of those coaches, Sean McVay and Dan Campbell. Sean McVay is a bold, very smart, high football IQ guy. And yes, he recognized what he needed. But he also, he has an attitude about him. Dan Campbell, as we all know, has an attitude about him. I don't know if Doug Peterson brings that type of attitude, and this team certainly doesn't play with that type of attitude through the first 2 quarters. That's for
Which
sure.
you could argue that despite a loss this weekend, Trevor's college coach certainly coaches with a little bit of an attitude. It's maybe not the Dan Campbell mantra, if you may, but Dabo Swinney has a little bit of fire to him, which allows for his quarterback to be perhaps a little bit more low-key because he is the one out there front and center saying, shoot your bullets at me. Yeah. I am the problem. I will be the one who will let everything fall at my feet. And that's just by virtue, I think, who Dabo is. But again, I don't think this has to deal with personality. I think this just has to deal with, to Taylor's point, you have to adapt and create an environment for that quarterback to succeed. For example, because we haven't even gotten to this and it's 52 minutes into the program. Last week, Final 2-minute drill for the Jaguars against the Green Bay Packers. They marched down the field. No Christian Kirk, no Gabe Davis, no Brian Thomas Jr. What did they do?
12 personnel.
How many times did they run 12 personnel yesterday, Lauren?
0.
Brenton Strange had 9 snaps yesterday, folks.
I'm surprised it's 9.
So
were they on special teams?
Probably.
I think I saw him in the lineup one time.
Yeah. So here's the problem with that. Austin Trammell, who was on your practice squad
9
2
of
weeks.
54 offensive snaps.
Yeah. Austin Trammell, who was on your practice squad a week ago, and still is technically, was a elevation from the practice squad, had multiple targets.
Yeah, where was Elijah Cooks, by the way? Like, if you want to throw that ball towards the end of or at the end of the game,
why
for
is
the
he
Jags,
not running the
give me
sock
Elijah
aid? Right.
Cooks at least who can go up and high point a ball.
Right, and you could argue that he also probably runs the 4.81 that Dearness Johnson does. Sorry, Elijah, just throwing it out there. But he's taller, obviously, so then that changes the trajectory of that play. I say this to say, if you were able to operate at peak efficiency last week, when everything was stacked against you in 12 personnel, and you understand your personnel is going to be limited this week, why are you not running more 12 personnel?
Well, it's so funny you mentioned that. Last week, I wanted to play a cut from Press Taylor, and because I wasn't here, I don't know if y'all got to it, but Press Taylor literally was asked about that, and he said he was reading his play sheet and specifically said, I was like Ron Burgundy out there. I was just reading and calling 11 personnel, and we didn't have 11 personnel, and the guys are having to tell me, hey, Press, we don't have that. We have to run 12 personnel. So in that aspect, it makes me think the play
didn't
caller
even know the personnel.
The play caller didn't know the
Right.
personnel, and he's better off when he's got the play sheet that he has to throw away, and somebody else is telling him what to do.
But what that speaks to is that Press has a plan. He goes into the game with a plan.
And he won't deviate, won't adjust.
Bingo. There is the biggest issue right now at the Miller
Well, that's exactly
Electric
why
Center.
they haven't had a single game with 4 quarters of good offense, because defenses figure them out and things get shut down. Whether they start a little bit strong, it's never the first quarter, but let's
That's
say
the
second
thing.
quarter.
The plan is scripted for it to be the first quarter, and they never score in the first quarter.
Yeah, but like sometimes those scripted plays are too scripted, and defenses can read those very easily, especially when it's like the same 3 things that you're opening a game with. But I do think there's just so many moments when like things go well in the second quarter, halfway through the third quarter, and then defenses are like, okay, we know what we're doing. We're adjusting our game plan, and Press is just like, oh, keep doing the same thing because it worked for the second quarter. That doesn't mean it clearly is not going to work in the fourth, because nothing has for you.
Well,
we apparently do have to apologize to Jared Goff, Lauren. The Heeligans on the text line in the MyBookie Digital studio are saying we're rabid with hate for Jared Goff. Revisionist history.
He was the best quarterback in the NFL.
Exactly. Yes. And
He just said he's not the most naturally talented.
Revisionist history that everyone's upset about. You know, he did go to a Super Bowl. Yes, we want to make that clear.
I said that.
Yes, I just want to make sure we're getting it out. Like, it's okay,
Yeah,
people.
you did kind of hate on him.
I
but
did hate on him because I agree with what 264 just texted in, which is Goff's QB rating in LA was an 86 over 5 years. It's a 101 during his time in Detroit. Trevor's career QBR is 85.4.
Ben Johnson is the Lions offensive coordinator. We'll just leave that right there. All right, since we're talking so much positive things, let's talk about Florida, Georgia. Yeah, Georgia, Florida. We'll get to that next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online at wekeepjacksrowland.com. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Relive the best moments from the weekend's games.
That's what superstars do.
Post-game Monday.
Expert analysis of Sunday's game all day.
Brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff on 1010XL. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Mia here, and when I was buying a new construction home last summer, there was no question. Dreamfinders Homes was the builder for me. A big reason why? Their unbeatable interest rates. Right now, you can take advantage of a 2.99% year one rate. Find your dream home, take advantage of unbeatable rates, and move in today. I'll say it again. 2.99% year one rate. Wow. Dreamfinders Homes, the official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS, right here in Jacksonville, is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE NeoGraft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. Are you looking for a remix on the original Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich? The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is a flavorful spin on a familiar favorite. Created with a Chick-fil-A filet, a drizzle of honey, pickled jalapenos, and a spread of savory pimento cheese. The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich combines your favorite flavors with a twist. And this year it's back with a bite with a spicy filet option. Available for a limited time only, so stop by and enjoy one today at your local Chick-fil-A restaurant.
Rake in the savings this fall with Universal Roof and Contracting. Enjoy 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a free wind mitigation inspection. With financing options as low as $115 a month, protecting your home has never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP. Offer expires November 30th. Protect your home and your wallet.
License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
It's a Big Chief Tire Monday. The local Jacksonville shop for fair prices and service you can trust.
If you're like most Americans, you have a ton of credit card debt and you're paying insane interest rates on that debt every month. Same for car loans and personal loans. Stop getting ripped off. Let Loan Pronto consolidate that debt for you at a significantly lower rate using the equity in your home. Hey, it's Prosser here, and Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit can get you up to $500,000. So you can consolidate your debt in as fast as 5 days. Their average client saves over $1,000 every month by doing this. Right now is the best time to act. With an Express Equity Line of Credit, you can access up to 90% of your home's equity, usually without an appraisal. Don't put it off. Get your financial house in order for the new year and call Loan Pronto now to see what you can save. It's a free quote and there's no credit pull, unlike the other guys. Call now, 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Total Wine and More is having a Taste of Town November 8th and 9th from noon to 6 both days. Enjoy great liquor brands, craft beer, and more. Brackish Vodka is excited to announce 6 additional flavors, and all can be sampled and purchased at the Total Wine and More Taste of Town November 8th and 9th. Come to Total Wine at the Town Center and sample great local brands. Brackish Vodka is a proud partner of the Jaguars and proud to be supporting the Taste of Town.
It's a sale so big, it's been over 40 years in the making.
It's Beard's Diamonds' incredible 44th anniversary sale. Everything store-wide is on sale, up to 44% off.
Beard's Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center or beardsdiamonds.com.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and
bring it back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Duck Duck Rooter wants you to join our VIP membership program. This will give you peace of mind knowing your plumbing, heating, and cooling systems are running their best. Ready to join? Call 904-862-6769. That's 904-802-6769.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update, brought to you by Baker Glass. College basketball is back with the Florida Gators opening their basketball season tonight here in Jacksonville at the VyStar Arena, taking on the South Florida Bulls. Gators will return 2 starters from their NCAA tournament team, Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr. Gators and Bulls tip off at 8:30. You can hear the game live on 1010 a.m. The FSU Seminoles prepare for their new season, hosting Northern Kentucky tonight. Florida State enters the match as an 8-point favorite after finishing their last season with a winning record. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. The JU Dolphins will open their season against Trinity Baptist here in Duval tonight at the Swisher Arena. Game time at 7. You can catch that game live on 1010 a.m. It's 80 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dollar, Jay Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you on this Big Chief Tire Monday. Little Lainey Wilson for you. All right, so did y'all realize, I'm sure you did, that the University of Georgia broke my heart both Saturday night and yesterday? As, of course, Saturday night, you had an interception by Georgia from the third-string quarterback, and I don't know why Billy Napier didn't run. Yep, the ball. Run the dang ball. I feel like I've tweeted that out multiple times at this point in time. And then, Nakobe Dean, former Georgia linebacker, now plays for the Eagles, and he intercepted Trevor Lawrence to end
It's
the
funny
game.
because at the end of our show on
Not
Friday,
funny.
I'm sorry, it's not
No,
funny.
you're fine.
It's ironic, I guess I should say. But at the end of the show on Friday, like one of my last words was, might be a rough weekend for people around here because Georgia is going to beat Florida, probably most likely, and then also Georgia's defensive line is going to also beat the Jaguars.
It is also kind of funny that we were comparing the Packers defensive line and the Eagles defensive line. There is a lot of Georgia crossover between those two outfits, and you could argue that's why they're two of the better defenses in the National Football League over the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's why Trayvon Walker had the touchdown yesterday, because he
That's
also
true,
comes
too.
from the University of
There it
Georgia.
is.
Look, I think I'm a homer, obviously, because I went to the University of Florida and I've cheered for them my entire life. So I'll ask y'all, so I'll take a step back. I believe if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt and have to leave in the late second quarter with that hamstring injury, and like we reported last segment, it is, quote unquote, less significant than Billy Napier said at halftime, which I don't understand why Billy Napier didn't just say, we need to get the MRI on it and we'll evaluate later. But either way, if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt, I believe Florida wins the game. But y'all are much more objective than me. Agree or disagree?
So DJ Lagway has played in 8 games so far this year. Obviously, some of them were in limited action. Some he started after the Graham Mertz injury, and by some I mean 2.
He started against Samford early in the season.
Correct.
When Mertz was hurt, and
with
then
the concussion. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's
Then
played
started at Tennessee, or sorry, not started. He played in that late in the game against
Right.
Tennessee up there in Knoxville when Mertz also got hurt.
So the point is, he's played in 8 games. He's thrown a pick in half of them. I'm not saying that his would-be interception would have changed the trajectory of the game, but I think ultimately with an 18-year-old quarterback, as much as Gator fans want to say if he doesn't get hurt, the Gators win the game, you have to account for perhaps a freshman miscue here or there, and that's nothing against DJ Lagway, who I thought looked masterful.
Yeah,
and I know a 2 of 6 stat line doesn't suggest that, but I thought that he was playing with confidence and navigated the offense on Saturday before his, unfortunately untimely injury. That yes, I had confidence that he could be the reason that they won the ball game. But that's been the case of why the Gators have had a chance in so many games this year. And what's so fascinating about it, Taylor, I don't want to say he's Jekyll and Hyde because I reserve that analogy for Spencer Rattler or Jameis Winston because they are the ultimate. You're either going to get 5 touchdowns or
Carson
5 picks. Or Carson Beck. Yeah, that's true. Not wrong.
Carson, though, has been more Jekyll than Hyde.
Yeah.
Correct. But the point being that the flashes are so great and the highs are so high, and that is what Florida would have needed to win that game, and they were not going to get those highs without DJ Lagway. Yes, they can run the ball with Jaden Baugh And certainly their offensive
Jacoby Jackson
ran great. Their offensive line has taken such a massive step forward in the last 4 weeks that they could have just leaned all the way in. They could have been the Packers actually against the Colts week 2 with Malik Willis, where Matt LaFleur said, fine, I'll adapt. We'll just run the ball right up the gut over and over and over again for over 200 yards and a half. And certainly against Georgia's defense, that's a little bit more difficult than I'm just making it and illustrating it out to be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't want to say that they would have won the game without him. I like if he had played. I don't want to say that because I also need to account for the human error. Billy Napier, to his credit, may have been his best coach game in terms of discipline, in terms of
until he
final
called
2 minute
pass instead of a run.
Right, that's
with under 4 minutes to go against the number 2 team in the country.
Lauren,
and
it's
you
a
have
low
your
bar
third
to
string
clear.
quarterback.
Low bar to clear.
Sounds familiar.
Low bar to clear. Low bar to clear.
Why did you call a pass there? Can someone please explain that to me?
Well, also, I mean, he probably looks at the holder and he's like, well, if we kick the field goal, then maybe that changes things too.
Yeah, no, that was certainly a botched special teams play, which that does sound familiar for Napier's.
Yeah, I mean, I said on Friday that I thought the game would still be tied or close halfway through the third. So and then Georgia would pull out because I felt pull away, not pull out. That was weird. So I just feel like that's been Georgia almost all year. We saw it against Alabama. For some reason, it takes them, like the Jaguars, they can only play 2 good quarters, but the 2 good quarters for Georgia have been the third and fourth quarter when they've been able to pull away. So I do think it would end up being closer. Like it may have been more of like a 34-31 or something like that. But I still think Georgia would have found a way to win at the end. I just think that I also trust Kirby way more than Billy Napier, so that factors into it also.
But see, to me, it's so hard, obviously, now because we'll never know.
I know. I really wish we got to see all of it.
Because that's the thing. You still had a chance if you're Napier and the Gators, again, with a third-string quarterback who started at Yale and then came to Florida and had only taken a few snaps earlier in the season against Kentucky when Florida was blowing them out. You still had a chance to win the game. Yeah. Again, if you run the ball there, and I'm not saying at that point in time, if Florida only runs there, they were backed up in their own territory. But that's why calling a pass there is such an idiotic move, and that's why I want Billy Napier to have an offensive coordinator in place next year if he's the coach.
One of our Georgia fan Heeligans, I'm assuming, on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, which, of course, you can get in on the conversation, folks, at 641-1010, says that DJ Lagway was 2 of 7 for 42 yards off a busted coverage with 2 starting safeties out in the first half due to suspensions.
Yeah, that's on you to be suspended.
And again, you have to play with who you have. Well, the point being that if those 2 safeties are going up against DJ Lagway in the second half, does that change the complexity of Georgia's defense? The answer is yes.
Is he 1 for 6 with 15 yards then when he goes down? If that
he was going to hit a deep ball at some point in time because that's what he does, at least multiple usually. And yes, you can say busted coverages, but we never for the Jaguars sit here and go, well, but they had a busted coverage. If they didn't have the busted coverage against the Dolphins, for instance, that would have been better. We never give excuses on that. So I'm not going to give them an excuse on that either. Look, at the end of the day, Florida didn't win the football game and now they have to go to Texas, and Texas isn't what they once were, but certainly they're a very highly touted football team. Yeah. They have 2 starting caliber level quarterbacks. They have a lot more 5 stars than I would say most teams that Florida's going to play outside of Georgia. So we'll see if DJ Lagway's going to play. I have a feeling he's not going to. Yeah. Just because he's not ruled out right now doesn't mean
I wouldn't play him even if he's healthy.
Montrell Johnson is a guy that has not been ruled out the last 2 weeks, and we also haven't seen him play either. And so college injury stuff is always a little bit weird.
I agree with whichever Heeligans texted in and said Wednesday at 8 p.m. is where your first estimated injury report will come out of Gainesville, so be on the lookout for that. I agree with that. I am also cracking up at some of you Georgia fans, like my 716. Georgia doesn't even play hard against Florida. They consider Napier's Gators Vanderbilt. No, Vanderbilt is bowl eligible. 716. They do not view them like they view Vanderbilt. At least they shouldn't.
And you cannot tell me that they went into that game like, oh, this is going to be easy. Obviously, do I think that Georgia's way more talented? Of course. And Kirby Smart is a better coach than Billy Napier. That's a no-duh statement. But still, it's a rivalry game, and anything can happen, and Georgia knows that.
The Carson Beck thing has to be a conversation at this point.
17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions.
Yeah, and just in the last 3 games, he has 8 interceptions. Like that, you are not going to win many big games. Or like this is a team that you're talking about, maybe the coach not even making it through the season, and you throw 3 picks against that. So it's definitely worth the conversation moving forward with Carson Beck.
What's going to be fun on Saturday at 3:30, Georgia at Ole Miss. So you talk about a game for a lot of the marbles, certainly for Georgia, even more than Ole Miss.
I got such a kick out of
Georgia's 2-point favorite.
The discourse surrounding Jackson Dart going out on Halloween.
Oh, I saw that too. Everyone's like, didn't you see Johnny Manziel in his like Scooby outfit? And then he went like 30 for 34 and 400 yards.
What was Jackson Dart dressed as?
I didn't see what his Halloween costume was, but the point is that like he went to practice and then he went to a party. But then he was at practice the next morning and like wasn't like he just went to a party. I don't know if he I don't have any of those details. But the point is he never missed practice. He never missed film. He never missed walkthrough. But like in his free time, like I don't really care. Yeah. Like he's allowed to go to a party. He's a college kid. You don't get that time back, folks.
Ole Miss walloped Arkansas 63-31.
That's the funny part is everyone spent 24 hours leading into that game saying, oh, my goodness, Jackson Dart, is he hungover from Halloween 2 days ago? No, he was not. Ole Miss curb stomps our good friend Sam Pittman and the Razorbacks. And in turn, again, we've once again find ourselves, and I don't even want to open this can of worms because I know we have to hit break, but we once again find ourselves in a situation where Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team is operating on all cylinders, is on a trajectory to potentially make the college football playoff. And what would that do in terms of his chances to depart to Oxford, Mississippi, and perhaps seek greener pastures elsewhere?
Well, I don't know that the greener pastures elsewhere are going to be in Gainesville at this point in time. Yeah. If, again, it all rests on the shoulders, really the legs of DJ Lagway. I wanted to mention there were multiple upsets in college football. Iowa State fell to Texas Tech 23-22. Clemson, like we mentioned, upset by Louisville 33-21. Kansas State lost to Houston 24-19. And South Kakalaki manhandled Texas A&M 44-20. I was disappointed that all three of us in our picks picked Ohio State and all of us picked South Carolina. So none of us could really be excited about that.
I mean, the stats about James Franklin against top 5, top 10 teams against Ohio State, and that's why. Like
I just went defense every game. Like what defense is better, and that's literally how I picked.
Like we were asked off the air by some other folks here in the building about James Franklin or Kurt Signetti, some of these coaches who could be on the move. And ultimately, James Franklin is this generation's Mark Richt, and I say that in an endearing way because Mark Richt is a rock star, and obviously I know his life has taken such a turn over the last few years. But why did Georgia part ways with Mark Richt? Because he was only getting them to 9 or 10 wins. Mm-hmm. It is a gamble to be certain because look at what's happening up at Wisconsin right now, and that was with the rock star hire of Luke Fickell, and so. That's where if you're Penn State, and certainly they're, locked in arm step, pun intended, with James Franklin and that 10-year contract that he signed not too long ago. But ultimately, you once again find yourself in this conversation of what is our standard and what will be accepted and where do we believe we actually are in the landscape of college football. That, quite frankly, I think we will be having that discussion here in Jacksonville about the NFL operation as well. What is your standard? By the way, since it is Helmets and Heels, I did want to shout out our good buddy Ashlyn Sullivan, who popped on from NBC Sports Philadelphia on the kickoff show yesterday, and she talked about that. The standard that the Philadelphia Eagles franchise has set, that's great that you have double-digit wins. That's great that you make the postseason, but if you aren't competing for Super Bowls, that's not good enough in Philly, and I think you could say the same for some college football operations right now that are reckoning with that question.
But I think you also have to wonder about patience. And so, like we mentioned, Vanderbilt is now a top 25 team. They're bowl eligible. Most people would have said, you just fire Clark Lee and move right along. The last head coach that we had that was worth anything was James Franklin, who then went to Penn State. This Saturday, by the way, a fun game that doesn't necessarily have any sort of playoff implications. South Carolina at Vanderbilt, 4:15. So that one's opposite the Georgia Ole Miss game. But that will be, I feel like that'll be a fun one. All right, we've got more to do. Taylor Dahl has a tangent when we return. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This is Helmets and Heels.
This hour is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. The game where every yard counts. One player's performance stands out.
That's what you want from a leader.
Universal Roofing Contracting presents the Offensive Player of the Game.
Touchdown, what a throw.
On 1010XL.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to hear another word about inflation. Am I right? I want to fight inflation, and thanks to my friends at Arlington Toyota, now I can. Mia here, and that's right, folks. The inflation fighter is back and saving you thousands at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Think you have to put thousands down? Think again. Right now at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned, just $500 down and $288 per month gets you a pre-owned 2021 Toyota Corolla. Or you choose a pre-owned 2021 Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma for just $500 down and $388 per month puts you in the driver's seat. Take that, inflation. But my friends at Arlington aren't done yet, because you also get no payments till January 2025. Plus, Arlington's lot is packed with over 600 vehicles. You even get 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it. It's time to fight inflation at Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey 1010XL family, Dr. Chris Cott PT here with Premier Physical Therapy of Jacksonville. Are aches and pains holding you back from doing activities you love? Pickleball, golf, or just day-to-day living? Are your kids struggling with injuries and need to get back in the game? My team of experts are ready to serve you at 3 locations: Ponte Vedra, San Pablo, and Phillips Highway. Visit PremierPTJax.com or call today at 904-996-6922, 904-996-6922, PremierPTJax.com, where your journey to wellness begins.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJax.com.
Mia here for MyBookie. Hope everyone had a profitable weekend betting. But you know what tonight is? Monday Night Football. No Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans. Tom Brady's not walking through that door. But the Tampa Bay Bucks still have to travel to play a 2-time defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by 8.5 points with the over-under game total around 45.5. Cade Otton, the tight end, was the de facto #1 receiving target last week. The Chiefs generally are pretty weak at defending tight ends. Right now, you can bet Cade Otton to score 1 or more touchdowns, paying plus 210. That means if you bet 100 and he scores, you get paid $220. MyBookie has the best sign-up bonus in the industry for Florida bettors. Our listeners can sign up and use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. That's promo code 1010XL to claim your double deposit bonus for Monday Night Football. Bet anywhere, anytime, and make your season a winning season with MyBookie.
Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. Hurricanes happen in Florida. That's not news. But what happens even more often than hurricanes are home break-ins. And if security is important to you, you might want to look into hurricane-rated impact windows.
What you may not know is that hurricane-rated impact windows not only help protect your home in case of a hurricane, but they also offer another level of security for your home.
Have you seen those videos on YouTube that show people trying to break through an impact window? A thief is way too lazy to spend his energy trying to break through one of our impact windows. That's why he doesn't have a real job like you. He'd rather break your non-impact window while you're at work. Window World has high-quality, very affordable hurricane-rated impact windows to help protect your home from hurricanes and from lazy thieves.
Call us today at 904-443-7001. Get a free estimate and see for yourself. You save energy, get more security, and the windows add value to your home. With all Window World windows, you get the best guarantee in the window replacement business.
Window World,
simply the best for less.
And thank you for your business.
She's seen and heard all over 1010XL's video and social channels.
Whether the big cats are at the bank or on the road, I'm there too. Follow my updates all season long, on air and online.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL is brought to you by Dandy Foods, makers of quality fresh sandwiches and home of the good stuff.
Hey, gang, Prosser here to save you some cash. Maximize your home sale now with the market experts who deliver more money in less time, and those experts are Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. You don't have to worry. The worries are relieved with Chad and Sandy, the local real estate experts we are trusting and recommending with the sale of your home. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Mortgage rates are down. It's time to create your market. Marvin in Cobblestone writes, my siblings and I moved our parents to Maryland so they can get some extra help as they get older. Next, we had to sell the home to get them some financial help for their extra care. We hired Chad and Sandy, and they delivered big. Chad and Sandy's team got our home sold in 7 days above asking price. You can too. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to chadandsandy.com. That's Chad, ANDSANDY.com.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Slow, and I want to talk to you today about having a grateful spirit. As we journey in life, it's so easy to take things for granted. But I want to encourage you to never get tired of thanking God for your blessings. Take time also to thank the people in your life who have and are helping you to become the person you are today. Don't go through life complaining, go through life praising.
To hear more inspirational messages by Reverend Dr. Nicholas Lowe, please visit our website at stjohnthedivine.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels.
Illuminated by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
The gang is all back together on this Big Chief Tire Monday, and right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent. Served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
So one of the things that we were talking about throughout the show is the firing of coaches. And the most recent one, obviously, we hear the Saints firing Dennis Allen. So there was some other things that got stirred up. And we've talked a lot also on the show about the not good quarterback, Derek Carr. And so I don't know if anybody saw
the
this.
first 2 weeks, everybody wanted to tell me that I was wrong about Derek Carr. What happened since then, Taylor?
Yeah, so former wide receiver Michael Thomas, he's still a free agent. Obviously, he got suspended, missed a game, and has not been signed by another team. But he was live tweeting his emotions during this game. And very interesting comments. And I think that this is very telling of Derek Carr. And I think this is something we saw last year, obviously. Like, his team completely gave up on him. Not last year, the season before, when he was still on the Raiders. And his team.
You could argue last year too.
Also,
I was going to say that Thursday night football
it might have been
game.
all last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's
don't
why
make his
he ended
wife
up leaving.
cry again.
Yes. So Michael Thomas live tweeting during this game. There's some cuss words in here, so I'll beep them out. But he says, they fired all them coaches trying to cover his flaws up. He's still doing the same. Beep. Another one. Dude tried to lie and say I was jealous of them making Chris wide receiver 1. Whole time he can't even get him a decent ball. He needs his A whooped. Another one. That year his buddy went first team All-Pro in 2022. He needed 180 targets just to catch 100 passes. His A on my granny, whatever that means. Dude's scary and panic. Just throw the ball. Get him the F out of here. He is ass. That's pretty much what Michael Thomas is saying. So first of all, I was intrigued by all of these. I was following these tweets, and I'm like, man, Michael Thomas is on it right now. Not liking him. He's obviously in some trouble. That is nothing I appreciate. But I think that it shows different storylines, and it's so easy for us to sometimes when we follow teams and you feel like something is okay, this receiver isn't playing the way that we were told they were going to be playing, and it's the offensive coordinator's fault or it's the coach's fault, or you blame everything on the quarterback. And a lot of times it's a variety of things. But then there's situations like this when clearly there are wide receivers, and this isn't the first time, because like I said, the reason the Raiders had to get rid of him is because the locker room completely turned on this guy. And so at what point do you start realizing, we talk about it with coaches a lot, like has the coach lost the locker room? How quickly do these quarterbacks start losing locker rooms if you're having situations like this? And then now Michael Thomas is tweeting this stuff, and now other wide receivers are on the team are probably seeing it, or guys that could have potentially came to New Orleans in the offseason are going to see this and be like, heck no, I'm not going to work with Derek Carr. And this is part of, I guess, what we have now in social media is these guys are able to do this and you can see everything. But I think also, in fact, it is a lot of things. These quarterbacks get blamed for everything, and it's their team. So a lot is put on their backs. And I get that. But at the same time, when you are supposed to be the leader of the team, and not only are you not playing good football, but then you are then losing your locker room to the point where your players don't even want to be around you, that's when you're at a whole other level. I would be shocked if Derek Carr continued to have a job past all of this.
Here's the problem. Their cap situation is hell. So
Did you see? But yeah, Taysom Hills, I feel like might be the worst.
Well, I mean, Alvin Kamara, Cam Jordan, you can't even say goodbye to any of those guys.
Yeah.
They can't even be cap casualties solely because you want to rebuild and you want to wipe the slate clean. Let's go back to our conversation in the 12 o'clock hour, Taylor, about the carrot dangling for potential head coach and GM candidates and why Jacksonville is so viable compared to the two current openings in New York.
They've just got red flags dangling over there.
Right. And so our friend, I think he's joined us. Now he's with CBS Sports, but previously with PFF, Mike Renner. Mm-hmm. Mike Renner tweeted this out a little bit earlier, and it's so true. The Saints head coaching job is probably the most unattractive opening since the post-Bill O'Brien Texans. You have a 2-year cap logjam. You have no long-term quarterback while being unlikely to end up in a range to draft a franchise quarterback. And, of course, the rookie contract talent that you then could reap from that. You don't have that then would obviously open up the door that you could bring in higher-level talent to try to supplement those holes in your roster. And you are tied to Derek Carr for at least another year.
I wonder why he thinks they're unlikely to be able to draft a franchise quarterback.
Because he said he thinks that they're unlikely to end up in that range. I think ultimately that's a whole nother can of worms, Lauren.
I feel like they're not going to be past the top 10.
They're not going to be past the top 10. How many? Well, that's the thing. This draft class, and look, we're not talking draft. Tony Baselli, who so many of you want as the EVP of this franchise, Tony Baselli has gone on our air and has said we are not talking draft until the Jaguars are mathematically eliminated. So we're not.
We're getting closer.
We are talking about draft in the lens of some local quarterbacks who certainly received lots of preseason buzz, and now we question what they actually are. And so could I see a world in which Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck are being picked at 12 or 13 and the Saints are there? Yes. But ultimately, it's tough because then is that a reach? Are those quarterbacks actually who we thought they were? Or in the case of the Denver Broncos, who I know lost yesterday to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but so many people scoffed at Sean Payton selecting Bo Nix, and there are certainly, there's non-Bo believers out there still, despite the 5-win record that the Broncos currently have. But ultimately, that wasn't them reaching. At least at this juncture, it was, hey, you know what? We have a first-round grade on him, and this is where we're picking. This is what we have to do. Do the Saints find themselves in that situation when, in reality, they also have so many other holes on the roster?
I mean, you have to go quarterback. And right now, if let's say they pick 6th, let's say, you don't get your top choices of maybe Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. Who knows where Carson Beck's going to be drafted at this point in time with how things are going. But let's say Garrett Nussmeier is available. You 100 times take Garrett Nussmeier and take your chances with him over what you've seen with Derek Carr. And to go back to your point, Taylor, about the locker room, I think that's why bringing it home to Trevor Lawrence, that's why he's so respected in that locker room is because on the flip side, not him losing the guys, but when the other guys have failed him, he never throws them under the bus.
Yeah.
Last year, how many times could he have said, well, if the offensive line would just protect me? Yeah. And this year, if guys would just catch the freaking football, including his college teammate yesterday with that, what ended up being an interception, which I would love to have a category of touchdowns and then like lucky picks or like unlucky picks or picks that actually are on the quarterback, picks that are not. Like it should not just be lumped in.
And then like interception on receiver or something like
that.
Right,
like tip ball or drop ball or whatever it ends up being. I hate that it goes on the quarterback in those moments when it's not their fault.
At this point in time, by the way, the Saints do have the 3rd pick. So it would be Patriots, Jags, Saints, Panthers, Browns, Raiders at this point.
So they'll get who they want if they continue losing. And you'd be an idiot not to draft a quarterback when, oh, by the way, I mentioned Taysom Hill. The stat on him is that the Saints owe him $18 million this upcoming, or he has an $18 million cap hit. He's 34 years old, and they don't even know exactly what position he plays.
Scored a touchdown yesterday, though. Let the record show.
Austin Powers for a second. It was like $18 million.
Exactly. All right, let's do our giveaway, Taylor.
Yes, we have lunch on the ladies' lunch for 2 to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010. Let's say caller number 4.
All right, caller number 4, 641-1010. We've got one segment to go. I want to talk a little college basketball since it begins in earnest tonight right here in Jacksonville. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on a Big Chief Tire Monday. Find them online at wekeepjacksrollin.com. 5 locations around town, so you can easily find a location near you. It's 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This hour of Helmets and Heels is brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Let's start the debate. Why would someone buy a new car from you? We have an exclusive 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty on every new vehicle. We offer a competitive wow price plus free oil changes. How much will someone get for their trade? We offer more than $4,000 over KBV value. Well, we never lose a trade over price. Okay, when is the best time to buy a car? Right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter which side you pick. At Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet, you get it all. Let us show you why we're the winning vote.
Mia O'Brien here. Folks, it's November 4th. It's still hot outside, which means your AC better be blowing nice and cold on the inside. If for any reason it's not, my friends at Duck Duck Air Conditioning are here to help. Their qualified service techs can handle any type of cooling issue at your home or business. So don't deal with the summer heat outside and inside. Give Duck Duck AC a call today to schedule service. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com. Duck Duck AC is a licensed mechanical contractor.
Movember is Cancer Awareness Month, so educate yourself on the risk factors for prostate and other cancers. Take charge of your health. Many cancers are highly preventable. Trust the physicians at Ackerman Cancer Center. AckermanCancerCenter.com.
It's a Helmets and Heels Big Chief Tire Monday.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Are you ready to upgrade your home? Experience the winning combination of style and performance with Renewal by Andersen. Energy-efficient, custom-built replacement windows and doors. Right now, save 20% on your entire project. Plus, 0 down, no payments, and no interest for 18 months. This offer expires November 30th and restrictions apply. Renewal by Andersen, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit bestwindowsflorida.com for details.
License number CGC 1527613. Is an injury keeping you on the sidelines? Whether it's your shoulder, neck, back, knee, wrist, or ankle, don't let pain hold you back any longer. At Injury Care Centers, they offer the same high-tech treatments trusted by the pros to supercharge your recovery without surgery. The road to recovery starts the moment you pick up the phone. 904-783-0008. That's 904-783-0008. Injury care starts at Injury Care Centers.
When mice and rats show up in your space, they can be a real pain. You need them out fast before they have time to multiply. Terminix knows how to shut down rodents, and they'll keep them from coming back to wreak more havoc. When rodents show up, so do we. Don't live with a rodent problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com.
Fear the Spear.
Plant your spear and get the latest news and notes from Tallahassee.
It's all about Tomahawk Nation on the Seminole Report. Brought to you by your local Ag Pro, your home team on 1010XL.
I'm Frank Frangie for Ricketts Electric. Hurricane season is here, and now's the time to think about a home generator. My friends at Ricketts Electric can make sure your home always has power. They can install the perfect generator for your home and are even offering a 10% discount this month if you mention 1010XL. So call my friend Zach Ricketts today at 904-320-5960 or find them on Facebook. That's Ricketts Electric, the city's best power connection. Call them at 320-5960.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to carlsondentalgroup.com. That's carlsondentalgroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Jacksonville's building a fence along the goal line. This is the Superior Fence and Rail Defensive Player of the Game. Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters.
Trayvon Walker flexed on the Eagles in a massive way over the weekend. The teal and black defensive end recorded 7 tackles, with 6 being solo, and he would pitch in a fumble recovery in what was a bright spot for Jacksonville. Walker's superior play was just what the doctor ordered, and he's your Superior Fence and Rail's defensive player of the game.
If you're tired of your fence looking like a bad hair day, well, it's time for a fence makeover with Superior Fence and Rail. They'll make your yard the talk of the town with a new fence installed by their expert team.
Your fence is fantastic. My fence is giving all of my neighbors some serious pick and envy. Thanks, Superior Fence and Rail.
So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your fence installation project today.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
This is Dr. James Perry, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Linebacker Foye Oluokun was asked about how he felt the Eagles were scoring on big third down and long situations. If it was more the Eagles executing big plays, the Jags defense struggling and letting the Eagles convert on long yardage situations. Here's Oluokun in the locker room after the game.
I remember the draw play. I kind of felt it was going to be a draw, me personally. Communicate that to the D-line so they don't rush up the field. Everybody got a hunt on that. We can't have that explode to a touchdown. Things like that killing me right now. You know, they make plays and one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. It's tough. Keep hunting, keep working. Let's make the play next time it comes to it.
Oluokun recorded 8 total tackles in yesterday's game. I'm Max Fink with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Since we will hit some college basketball before we say goodbye and hello to XL Primetime, I will cool down with the results of our question of the day on this Big Chief Tire Monday on Helmets and Heels. Which game made you sicker this weekend? Florida's loss to Georgia, the Jaguars' loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, with 172 votes cast on X. 89% of you say the Jaguars lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. We also placed this poll in our YouTube chat line on the MyBookie Digital Studio, where with 92 votes, 86% of you say the Jaguars lost to the Eagles made you sicker.
Yeah, I think that both of these teams, unfortunately, to your point and at the top of the show, Lauren, when you were saying it felt like you were watching the same end of the game, and it's unfortunate, but I do think there's correlations in both of the end of those games came down to a play call that shouldn't have even happened. And again, you could say the what ifs because Philly gets the ball back a minute 40, probably around that time frame, still left on the clock. So either way, it was bad. That play call itself was bad, but also not using a little bit more of the clock and running the ball a little bit. You have a first down with a minute 40 left. All of that is questionable for the Jaguars side. And then obviously the play call with the Gators too to end it is just, at some point there has to be some accountability in that. And I feel like I've been saying that for weeks at this point. But I don't know what drastic changes can be made right now to totally fix things, but I do think that something has to be done, for especially the Jaguars, something has to be done. And whether that is Doug Foley saying, like, I'm taking over all of this, even though I don't know how much drastically different it'll be, maybe it helps a little bit because I feel like we've gotten down to this is too many games that are this close. You're a play away. And I know those playaways ended up turning into a couple Trevor Lawrence interceptions or a fumble that ended up kind of ending it when you thought you had a little hope, but also play calling is involved in that. And I think when you are playing a team like you were, yesterday with Philly, who's a good team, and we've talked about, Nick Sirianni being on the hot seat too, and we've talked about how they didn't start the way people thought they would. Their defense is really good right now. They have one of the better defenses in the league in the last few weeks, and all of these guys are starting to play really well together. And so for you to take it down to those final minutes with a team like that and have a chance to win a game is definitely something you have to look at in a positive light. But then as soon as you have that little bit of positiveness, there's a play like that ends the game, and it takes everything away.
Yeah, and had you beaten the Dolphins, had you beaten the Browns, I feel like yesterday's game would have been even worse because you are still in contention. But because you're not in contention as much anymore, you're not going to make the playoffs. It's like, oh, yep, here we go, just another loss. In the same fashion that they lost to the Packers, in the same fashion that they lost other games, is this team doesn't know how to finish. And it's just so obviously frustrating. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. That's a saying down here. Is that a saying in the Northeast too, Mia?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm so tired of the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And it applies to Florida too. Look, like I said, I think that Florida would have won the game if DJ Lagway stays healthy. But at the end of the day, they didn't. And you can shoulda, coulda, woulda yourself to death with both of these teams. But at the end of the day, you didn't win the football games. All right, let's get it to basketball tonight. The starting lineup projected, at least for Florida: Alex Condon, who certainly played with the Gators last year, along with Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr. Gators fans know those names. And then the two new guys, Elijah Martin, who is a transfer from FAU, and Ruben Chinleyu, who's a transfer from Washington State. That, like I said, I project that to be the starting lineup, thanks to Chris Harry of FloridaGators.com, going up against USF. And of course, we will be thinking of Amir Abdur-Rahim, his family, and everyone on that USF team who's still, I'm sure, processing and dealing with the tragic loss of their head coach. But I am excited, Mia, to see what this Gator basketball team to start the season ranked in the top 25 looks like.
Our prayers to everybody at USF. They had the memorial service Saturday, and now they will open their season tonight in Jacksonville, which is very, very hard to wrap your head around. And that's from an outside perspective. But yes, the Gators and the Bulls tonight, 8 p.m., VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Already saw the Gators are in the midst of their shoot around right now in downtown Jacksonville. I think it's interesting, Lauren, because so much of the reason why the Gators have earned a top 25 preseason ranking by the AP and the Coaches Poll is because of the belief in Todd Golden and what he's building in Gainesville for certain, but also this notion of, well, they're bringing everybody back. You just alluded to it. Well, Alex Condon was an all-SEC freshman last year. There's really only two starters back. There's depth there for certain.
Condon started a few games down the stretch.
Right, and obviously the injury to Micah Hand-Logden has thrown things into a flux, and that creates a little bit of, a lack of depth in your front court, if you may. I'm genuinely interested to see how this group gels together. And I know Chris Harry did a great job of kind of illustrating and granted, it's against the College of Charleston. Nothing against College of Charleston, who's been to the NCAA tournament more than they have not in the last 5 years. However, it is a team from the Colonial versus a team from the SEC. But the defensive efficiency numbers in that secret scrimmage were off the charts. And that's where Todd Golden wants to take the next step. That is where he believes he can rest his hat on, and that is the identity of his Gator teams. And it sounds eerily familiar to what the crazy man up in Storrs, Connecticut, Dan Hurley, two-time defending national champion, what he brought to Storrs, Connecticut and UConn in that idea of relentless defense that turns into offense. And in preparing for the season, I've listened to so many podcasts and so many analysts and so many players and coaches who've said, what is different about what Dan Hurley built at UConn is that in the fourth quarter of games, or excuse me, well, not the fourth quarter, the second half, but late in the pseudo, if you may, fourth quarter. So late in the second half of games, there is this gear that UConn hits in terms of their preparation and in terms of their strength and conditioning that no other team in the country has. And it is visible not only on the offensive end of the floor, but on the defensive end of the floor. And I believe that's what Todd Golden is trying to emulate in his sabermetric analytical ways. And so I'm excited to see if it comes to fruition. But make no mistake about it, ladies. Yes, they returned two starters, but there are some new pieces here that I'm curious if it's going to take a couple weeks for them to fully gel in Gainesville.
This is your alma mater going up against my alma mater tonight, Taylor. And I know that college basketball is not your absolute favorite thing, but it's at least, I feel like, for a lot of people who have soured on the football season, it gives them at least something to turn to. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Todd Golden's offense looks like this year, because that is, I feel like, his bread and butter. He's a guy who wants to shoot the three, and he wants to get up a bunch of those each game. Obviously not as many as our friend Matthew Driscoll at UNF, but he wants a high percentage of threes taken. And so how does Elijah Martin fit with this group? And they also have, the freshman who's 7'9" and 305 pounds.
I don't know how much he's going to play.
I don't think he even sees probably much action. Yeah, but over the course of the season, does a 7'9", 305-pounder and Olivier Roux?
Yeah.
How much does he help this team? How many minutes does he really get and things like that? I just think that's going to be fun.
He's going to be a big talking point nationally.
Yeah,
Everyone's going to want to talk about him. Ultimately, though, here's the thing. Zach Edey once entered college basketball as a relatively unheard of, non-recruited 7-footer from IMG, and look how that turned out. His first season at Purdue, Matt Painter accepted that he is this raw ball of clay, much like Olivier Roux is for Todd Golden. And so he would just kind of send him out there and say, just set some ball screens for me. Just clog up the paint. Yeah. Maybe, defend the rim. If you could just do that, that'd be great. You're going to foul out probably every game, but it's all right. We'll cut our losses, and it just clog up some space out there on the floor. I'm curious to see how that factors into Florida's game plan, because ultimately I would like to think that Olivier Roux is here for the long haul at Florida, and it is a similar developmental plan that Todd Golden has laid out for him as they laid out for Zach Edey once upon a time.
Yeah, I think that was similar to Condon last year. He, like we said, he didn't start the beginning of the season, really most of the season. I think he only really started a couple of games down the stretch, but they had a plan for him to get in the mix. And it's a little bit different because, 7'9" is something unlike you've seen. But it's still, Todd Golden now has the expectations set. And much like the Jaguars entering this season, when the expectations are in front of you and they're laid out and the bar is high, how do you perform? Does your team crumble, or does your team actually live up to expectation?
Yeah, and I do want to make note, since I know a couple of you have already chimed in on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, that our other local teams will be in action this evening, including the JU Dolphins right here in the River City. They will host Trinity Baptist College at 7 p.m. at Swisher Gymnasium in their season opener. And the North Florida Ospreys will be at South Carolina tonight at 7 p.m. Certainly South Carolina with the defending coach of the year in the SEC, in Lamont Paris, and they're certainly a team that was built through the transfer portal last year. They have some pieces who return. It's going to be a challenge for the Ospreys, needless to say. These buy games, if you may, the money games where you go up against these Power 4 opponents certainly always are. But North Florida, like Matthew Driscoll said in his media day, they've got a lot of pieces coming back, and that's not something that a lot of mid-major teams can say. In 2024, you could make the same claim for JU. I mean, with Rob McCray coming back, a preseason ASUN Player of the Year candidate, that is certainly a feather in the cap of Jordan Mincy, who brings back much of that roster, Stephon Payne. And so both local outfits will be fun to watch this year, too.
You can hear the Florida game on 10:10 a.m. tonight with pregame coverage beginning at 8 o'clock. And then you can hear JU on the 10:10 a.m. stream. Let's head out to the Golf Club of Southampton.
Now, the 2-minute drill, brought to you by Injury Care Centers. Discover BioTarget Regenerative Therapy, a safer drug-free solution for lasting pain relief. Visit GoBioTarget.com.
Hello.
Hello.
Joe, how are you out there for St. Joe's Scholarship Golf Tournament?
We're doing great. It's always great to be out here. This is, my old alma mater, the stomping grounds down on St. George Street when I matriculated through St. Joe's Academy. And now they're out there on 207 playing good football. So we're out here for the scholarship tournament, having a good time. And it's nice, overcast, low 80s, not too muggy. Beautiful sunsplash day earlier. And they are still out on the golf course enjoying things right now.
Joe, what was worse for you, the loss to Georgia Saturday night or the Jaguars lost to the Eagles yesterday?
I think I don't want to say that, the Jaguars have reached a point where you don't expect them to win. They've been in 2 close ball games, and it just drives you crazy that they're such slow starters. Then they make the ultimate or critical mistake at the end that cost them the ball game. These were 2 decent second halves against Green Bay and against Philadelphia. So that's the most frustrating one. When you go back to Saturday, I'll give Billy Napier credit. I wish DJ Lagway would have been in the entire game and we would have seen what ultimately would have happened. But the defense played hard. They had a decent game plan. Rushing attack, pretty good. They put Carson Beck, Kirby Smart, and all of the dogs on notice on the edge for quite a bit of that game. But they could not get enough done in the end. So both of them were frustrating. There's no question about it for Gator Nation and, of course, for all of Duval.
Yes, certainly. It is good news, at least, that Lagway potentially could play again this season. We'll see whether or not that is this Saturday, but at least that is good news on the injury front. I did see, by the way, Dak Prescott expected to miss multiple weeks with the hamstring injury, so not good news for the Cowboys quarterback. But either way, what's coming up?
Yeah, they're going down in flames. They're going down fast. I love that Jerry Jones, we'll bring this up a little bit later on. He says, we're going to really work that trade deadline and see if we can turn the corner. Leon's laughing at that one. So we will definitely dig in on the NFL from yesterday. How many different ways can you get burned by your own football team with your Jaguars? So we'll do that a bunch today. And then obviously look back at the college football world from Saturday. So all ball on XL Primetime.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Let's hit of that real quick before we do hand it off officially to XL Primetime.
That just happened. Brought to you by Florida Home AC, the official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Doug Peterson, back at the Miller Electric Center, currently meeting with reporters, says that the most significant injury to their roster coming out of that Eagles game on Sunday night is obviously Cooper Hodges. He does not anticipate anyone else, Anton Harrison, Brandon Scherf, Brian Thomas Jr., among others, missing time going forward.
All right, that's a wrap for us today. We'll be back tomorrow, certainly. Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. And it's just one of those days I think rehashing what we just talked to Joe about is just making me even more frustrated. So at least we'll get to watch the Bucks and the Chiefs go at it tonight and talk about something else tomorrow. And yes, of course, college basketball as well. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Primetime is next.